All right, everyone. Welcome to the New York City Airbnb Hosts online meetup. During coronavirus, as many of you know, we're going to be putting together this meetup every week. And the series that we're going to cover is going to have topics that are going to help hosts during this time to save their businesses. So if you have any topics that you would like to see us cover in the future, please make sure to just put them in the chat box. We want to get speakers that are relevant for you guys, so if you put those in, we'll do our best to try to find someone who's an expert on that topic. For those of you who just joined, we're going to be getting started in about 2 to 3 minutes. We're expecting at least 50 people on this call, so please make sure to keep your microphone on mute throughout the meetup. If you do have any questions for the speaker, you can put them in the chat box on Zoom. So in Zoom, if you go to the bottom center and you see the chat icon there just to the right, you can type all your questions in there. We are going to hold the questions to the end, but then I will read off those questions to the speaker. But again, please don't use your mics, because if 20 people start talking at once, no one's going to be able to hear. The event is going to run until 6:30, and we'll do our best to get to all the questions. If your question isn't answered, we do have a Facebook group, and we can answer. You can post a question in there and get it answered afterwards. And I know every week there's some people who can't make it or who want a recap on this, so we are going to record the meetup, and we'll also post that in the Facebook group and send it out on our next email. So if you miss anything or you come a little late, we'll be able to cover that. So again, for those of you, I just saw about another 10 people come in. So the first thing I said that some of you may have missed is if you have any topics that you'd like to see at future meetups, you could just type them in the chat box. We'll try to get speakers who are experts on that topic to come in the future weeks. And for everyone who just joined, again, please keep your mics on silent throughout the meetup. If you do have any questions, you can type them in the chat box on Zoom. So if you go to the bottom center and just to the right, there's a chat box there. So with that, I'm going to go ahead and get started. So our featured speaker for today is Evelyn Badia. She's been living the Airbnb life since 2010, before it became a verb. In 2014, Evelyn turned her passion for all things Airbnb to instructional hosting by founding The Hosting Journey, which is a website and podcast where hosts can learn how to create a fun, profitable, and sustainable Airbnb life. Evelyn's motto is watch, follow, and learn. And I'm going to let Evelyn take it from here.
Hello, everybody. And thank you so much for taking your time to be with us. I need to share my screen. So let me just do that first. And here we are. The beauty of technology, right? So first of all, Mike, thank you so much for doing this and for taking the time to create a community. And thank you, everybody, for being here and taking the time away from whatever it is that you're doing, which is, you know, probably watching a little bit too much TV or worrying too much. So I know that Mike had a different title on today's topic, but this is what I like to call it. So it's going to be today's topic. We're going to be the little known way to fill your Airbnb calendar, because that's what we're going to talk about. Now, how to get the most out of this training is to turn off your phone. I know you probably say, but what about that notification? But it's okay. You can wait for a minute. Get your beverage. Thank you so much, Alice, for drinking something there. And, you know, let's begin. And you are in the right place if you got an Airbnb thinking, yay, notification, but it's a cancellation, which is what we've been getting. I don't know if you're getting any more lately, because I think I got them all in March, right? Or you are in the right place if all your reservations used to be from tourists, right? That's your main market. It was just tourists. That was it. And now your calendar kind of looks like this. What used to be a lovely, lovely summer calendar is no longer, but we're here. And it's going to be okay. Believe me, it's going to be okay. So today we're going to learn how to reach out to future guests, confirm them so that you can clear your calendar of any undecided guest. You're going to go beyond tourists. And now let me tell you a little bit of who I am. like Mike told you, I started Airbnb in 2010. That is the not loved at the moment Brian Chesky behind me. Um, he tapped me at 2012 to tell my story about the sharing economy. And in 2014, I started sharing a coaching and host. A lot of you guys know me or not. I've spoken in conferences at the Airbnb Open and different conferences around the world. The last one was in 2019 in London. Since 2010, I went through the Hurricane Sandy. We had hosts in my house. That was when Shell created the project of open homes. She contacted Brian Chesky and the founders, and that's what started Open Homes, was Hurricane Sandy. I was part of that. I offer my home for free to New York people. I also have had 2-year construction projects next to me, not in my house, and I survived it. It was hard, but I did. Electricity issues. And when I opened my Airbnb in Puerto Rico, we had earthquakes the first month, and I had a guest. So survived many things. This one, it's a little bit different. So having a strategy for your Airbnb will mean that you don't need to close your doors or go into debt. Or if you go into debt, it won't be too hard, okay? So now, the one thing I want you to think is to get out of your own way and take action. And start thinking that perfection, it has to be perfect, because perfection is your enemy. This is right now, we're just into action. We're just going to be taking action. Stop thinking about like what is or what was, because what was is not anymore. This is new territory, and it's okay. It's okay. Now, what I'm going to speak about is about having a realistic calendar, about having brand loyal communication, and about having a recession-proof market. All right, so that's today's topic. Now, in your realistic calendar, where's my pretty picture? You see, it was a pretty picture. I wanted you guys to show it. I spent hours on this. All right. As we all know, coronavirus, COVID-19, on March 11th, the World Health Organization declared pandemic. The United States declared travel bans on March 14. And the Airbnb extenuating policy happened on March 14. And then on March 14, you started getting all of those lovely cancellation policies and notices telling you that they were canceling. But that was on top of cancellations from March 14 until April 15. Now, they updated their policy last week on March 31st, and then there was just another update on April 9th. So this is the latest updated. And the reason why I'm speaking about this, because this affects your calendar. And if your calendar is not realistic, if you're thinking that, oh, those people are coming, I just really need you to deal with the truth. I'm sorry. It's just the truth. I've been dealing with it for way too long. The new policy is that March 14 through May 31st, that's the new end date. That's as of now. Will it change? I don't know. Maybe, possible, who knows? So from March 14 to May 31st, guests can cancel and will get their money back. And this is for any reservation that happened before March 14. If a reservation happened before March 14 and they cancel between now, before their reservation happened, before check-in, they're entitled to their money. You also, as a host, are eligible to 25% of your normal cancellation policy. I did a podcast episode all about this, so I'm not going to talk about this right now because we're going to talk about other things. But in summary, it's reservation for stays made on or before March 14. Check-in date between March 14 and May 31st are covered by the policy and might be canceled before check-in date. Mind you, any reservation made after March 14 does not get covered by that policy. They're covered by your cancellation policy. If you have a strict policy and you have a booking, a guest books now, April 15, right? And they want to cancel because of COVID, they're not entitled to this policy. They're entitled to your strict policy, whatever you have right now. Okay? I want you to remember that because that's really important. If it gets canceled, unless they have COVID-19 or you have COVID-19, then that's all bets are off. All right. But if you don't and they cancel because of flights, because of travel, they're not entitled. You're entitled to keep your money. That's per Airbnb. I want you to be clear about that. Now, all reservations, you need to make sure, like, what happened? They're sitting there. You might have some reservations in the month of May. You might have some reservations in the month of June. Are they coming? Will they? Because will they travel? Can they travel? Is the big question. Because the travel bans are still in effect. And New York, as of today, just extended their pause all the way until May 15. So Airbnb's extended policies up to May 31st. New York just extended their pause until May 15. Now, when will travel start? We don't know. I wish I knew. I don't know. But if you look back, I want you to go back and think about where we got to go back to China, Italy, Spain, where this started, where this is at, where the countries that started, that they still going through it, right? China just lifted their lockdown in Wuhan on April 8th. And that was 3 months after lockdown. Mind you, they're still depending upon cases because there's sort of some cases coming out. We really don't know what the truth is in China. I think one of the countries that we should follow more is Italy and Spain and see when they will lift their travel. So all of this travel, when are people going to travel? We don't know. So we could say 2 months, 3 months. We're already 1 month in. So March 15, it started March 15, we're already into April 15. So this is a month already going in. So now for reservations, book on or before March 14 with a check-in after May 31st. This is Airbnb's policy. We recognize there might still be uncertainty. In the coming weeks, we'll be asking hosts and guests to revisit those reservations and choose to either cancel or recommit the reservation. Okay, this is huge, guys. This is huge. This is per Airbnb. This is in their website. I like facts. This is what I like to talk to about facts. Because of this, I made decisions on my business. Because those reservations that I had in May and that I had in June, and we're talking about thousands of dollars. We're not talking about little $100 here, thousands of dollars. I made decisions on my space. Because Airbnb can extend that policy and just tell them, hey, and in the meantime, I'm waiting. I'm waiting for what? Okay, so here you are. If you have any reservations, you need to go through them. What are you doing? Are you waiting? Are you saying, what is it going to happen? Now, once you see your calendar, when you see what is going to happen, do you have any lingering reservations that they haven't communicated with you, right? Because they're sort of like waiting and they're like, I don't know, am I going to travel? Am I coming or not? You need to make a decision, not the guest. Because the question is, will they come back? Are they coming in May or are they coming in June? So once you decide, you have a brand loyal communication. And what's important in this communication is, what do you want with this guest? And I get it. We all want more money, right? We wish our cancellation policy will be in effect and we will get our money, or better yet, we wish our guests will arrive, but that's not the case. So we cannot think about that. But do we want a referral? Do we want future business? Now, if you're tied with Airbnb, you have to remember that you might want something, but their policy might stop you from wanting that and from getting that. And the current policy takes effect until May 31st. And they might extend it because they just extended it. Before it was up to April 14 and they extended it to May 31st. Do we know if they're going to extend it more? I don't know. Maybe. I'm not Brian Chesky, and who knows? So Bookings before March 14 for arrival between March 14 and May 31st, they get a refund. May 31st, they need to confirm. You have to remember that when you decide what do you want to do. Now, you write your template. You put pretty words. You say, I want to reach out to you. I want to thank you. And I want to know what the heck are you doing? Or I want to let you know what I'm doing. Because what I did for my house in New York was I canceled the people. I made a financial decision and I canceled everyone. And I told them, look, I'm turning my home over to travel nurses. That was a short market. And those reservations that were happening in May and June were not a short possibility. And that's what I did. You want to educate your guests about what you're doing and your decisions. And your decisions are not easy decisions. I get it. Believe me, it took me 2 days and it took a lot of time for me to decide I'm going to have to cancel about $15,000 worth of reservations. So you sit down, you write, you type, you put your big girl panties on and you just say, this is what I'm doing. Because this is where we're at. You cannot think about like, yep, this is the high season for us. This is when the money's coming in, man. I get it. But this is where we're at. Okay? Now, this is some of my guest response because I was like, this is where thank you so much. And this is what she said. I thank you. And because I told her that I was opening my home for healthcare providers, she was like, I'm so happy for you, blah, 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 blah. Of course, it's not like she told me, let me send you some money, but this is what she offered. So your brand communication, you want it to be of what is it that you want to do with this guest? Is it that you want to, is that guest coming back in the future? Can they come back in the future? Or is the guest that will never come back again? The guest in my neighborhood in New York, the family lives around. So they come in and out. But if you live in a place that is a one time, that is that kind of guest, they're never coming back again, you might be like, I don't care about them. So you have to decide what is this relationship that you want to have with that guest and with that long term. How do you want with them for the future? Because with this particular guest, I could go back to them. I have a relationship with them. I could also tell her, hey, look, you know what? I have another place. I have a place in Puerto Rico. I could tap. So it's bigger than just New York. It's bigger than just this situation. My business is not just this. My business will survive. Okay? Now, once you do this, and I'm telling you, I know how hard it is. I know how hard it took me days. It took me days. I wrote my templates. And I just had to sit down and send it out. Think about alternative travel markets. If you wanted to go to the long-term tenant, that I know some people did, there's a flood of inventory. There's a flood of Airbnbs. A lot of locals leaving the city and opening their apartments out. Because as you know, people just went out to the suburbs. Also, people don't have jobs. And if you have a long-term tenant, you cannot evict them. So is that what you want? I don't know. Somebody that booked in my home, they were locals. I was getting a lot of locals that they did not want to be with roommates. So I was getting them for like 2 weeks at a time. So what I was getting was like a person would come in, they didn't want to be with the roommates, and they would just come in and take my apartment for 2 weeks. So I was getting those. But you have to lower your rate a lot. I was getting inquiries from new people and it felt like they wanted to party. So you have to be really careful right now because there's people that because we lower our prices that they want to have parties in our homes. So you have to be careful about what's happening out there. And then I went to the travel nurses. That's the market I'm tapping into. Totally different, but they're here and they are in New York. And no, you're not going to make the same money. I'm sorry. Yeah, no, you're not. But they are traveling. They are experienced travelers. They're getting paid. And they're booking long-term, 30, 60 days, and sometimes more. So they could give you this gap for however long this is going to take. They won't take you for 2 years or a year if that's what you want. But for right now, it will like just take you over. It is a totally different market. And believe me, I know it because I'm getting nurses right now. Now, the travel nurses, you can find them on Facebook groups. If you post in Airbnb, you can find them there as well. There's a site called Furnish Finders, and also the healthcare sites where they get jobs. They have sites where you can find travel nurses as well. So what you do is you list your place within the site as well. So this is Airbnb. You do not have to offer your place for free. You could offer your place for discount or anything else, but you could offer your place in the Airbnb site. Travel nurses do not like using Airbnb. I'm giving you that tip. They do not like it. Because you have to remember, they're going to have to pay Airbnb's fee. The only way a travel nurse can use Airbnb for free is if they are working with a not-for-profit. I know this because I tried. There was someone who wanted to stay at my place. They were a travel nurse, and we couldn't get him to book through Airbnb because he was getting paid, and he was going to pay me. And because of that, he couldn't go through this product. So for you to get a travel nurse through the Airbnb site is not as simple. So you have to do it off-site. There's websites. You have to change your mindset if all you do is Airbnb. Now, they're not the same as tourists. They're not. You're not going to make the same money that you make with tourists. I don't want to tell you, oh my God, you're going to make so much money. No, you're not. No, you're not. This is not that's not it. I'm not going to tell you that. Because that's not why would I tell you that? Why would I lie to you like that? So this is not that. You get in competition from hotels. Hotels are offering their places for like $30, $40 a night. And there's a flood of places offering places, but there's a lot of nurses coming in. They're coming in. Now, there's a lot of stuff that I have learned in the last few weeks. I've also have a couple of podcast episodes about nurses. I'm about to upload one more in this coming week. So there's a lot of information out there about them. And I want to know, why did you show up today? And that's my big question, because I get it. You've seen all at Netflix. But like, aren't you like almost done like with all Netflix? Do you feel like, oh my God, I'm so done with like so many TV shows, right? And you get no bookings, and you don't see a way to get any more. You're sort of like, where are they? Where are they? Like I don't even have like anybody for December, like nothing. And you miss it. You miss your people, right? And we don't have no clue when the world will open again. Because all of this will depend on things that are outside of our control. I cannot control when the airport is going to be open, when flights are going to be open, when they decide that this is going to happen, right? I don't control any of that. But now my entire hosting life changed the moment I chose to tap into the travel nurse market. Because it was like, oh, okay, I have some income. I have some money coming in. I'm going to be okay. I know that the travel nurse will transform your business right now. Because my nurses are arriving this weekend for both places. They're coming in. They're there until June. I don't have to worry about it. June, I have money in the bank. They paid. It has been a learning curve because they are experience. And look, I'm getting emails. They're like, oh, it's your place book. Hey, it's your place book. Are you available? It's your place book. So they're there. They travel differently. It's not a tourist. They travel differently. Remember, they're there for 30 to 60 days. They're also coming in for work. And you also have to think that, you know, you're marketing different. It's a different market. Your market is different. So before, you probably were just marketing on Airbnb or maybe Booking.com, maybe VRBO, maybe possible. But this is different. This is a different animal, my dears. You got to do different thing, and you have to think differently. Okay. Now, you could do this alone. You could go into Facebook. You could go into YouTube. You could spend hours on research while time keeps passing by and July is here or June or anything, and your calendar is a blank one. Or look, I'm about to open a class called Recession-Proof Your Airbnb, which is all about nurses. And in it, I'm gonna talk about clearing your calendar. I'm gonna give you my templates, how I communicated with my guests. I'm gonna give them. I'm gonna talk about mindset because it's so hard. It's so hard to give away that money because it's a what if, but it's a what if. That money doesn't exist. The money doesn't exist. You don't know if that guest is coming. It's fake money. That's how I'm seeing it. Sort of fake money. How to market to nurses. All the Facebook groups, all the rules within the Facebook groups, because they're differently. You have to post differently, how to go about it, all the essentials to the market, what do they want, and if you don't have what they want, how to go about it. And then using Canva to do little pretty things like this. Because, you know, when you post on Facebook, you don't want to like, this draws attention. So that's what you want, right? You want to stand out. So I'll show you all of that. Then communicating with the nurses, I'll give you my template. So how do you organize it? Because believe me, you're going to have tons of people that you're going to be talking to. A lot of them will disappear. Some of them will not. Then you're like, oh, I talked to this one. Oh, I talked to that one. No, but who, what, where? What do they want? So how do you pivot your finances? How do you price your listing? And how do you collect your money? Because now you're in charge of it. Are you going to go through Vimeo? Are you going to go to PayPal? Are you going to go here? Are you going to go there? The contract. I had my contract through a lawyer. I'm going to share it with you. So all of that. Setting up your home. Your home is different. It's not for tourists. It's for a nurse. Someone that's going to be in your house for 30 to 60 days. Different market. So if you have, right now, the course is not open. It's opening next week on the 23rd, a week from today, because I've been getting ready for my nurses who are arriving tomorrow. And it's been, I don't want to say challenge, a process. It's been a process. So now I'm opening for questions. Look, Mike, right on time.
All right, guys, if you have any questions, you can put them in the chat and I'll read them off to Evelyn. So we did have someone who messaged me privately with a question saying, we currently host to traveling nurses and love them. They're amazing tenants, but because we live on site and share common areas, we're worried about transmission. Our travel nurses just left and we're hesitant to rebook. How do you recommend we handle in this instance? We're getting 2 to 3 requests a day.
It's a chance you're taking because it is, look, they are dealing with, look, they deal with it every day, right? And so the question is, talk to your nurse. This is such a delicate time right now. Because what I'm doing right now is I closed my house after the nurses for 3 days, and then I have to get it clean. I don't allow anyone in.
I heard you went for a walk.
Who went for a walk? So,
oh, sorry. I didn't know I was
Oh,
on mute. And no,
you're not. So, so common areas. Look, yeah, yeah. Um, it is. That's a rough thing. You might need to talk to them. Have it where you super clean the space, where they have to be cleaning the space a lot more, or have a protocol for them where they have to do probably wash, take a shower before coming home. Like, can they shower in the hospital? Ask them a question like, what is your protocol? Right? And tell them your concerns. Just be honest. And tell them you do want to host them. But you know, this is your concern. And yeah, I get it. And look, Airbnb will not allow anyone to host travel nurses if it's a shared space. It has to be a private apartment. Yeah.
Okay. We have another question that came in, Evelyn. It said, do you have a direct booking website and how do you take payment?
No, I don't have a booking direct website. I just, look, I'm not waiting. No. I was going rough. This is just like, I need their money now. I'm not going to spend time on creating. I have a website, but I never promoted it, and I didn't want to waste time for that. These are nurses. They know, like, PayPal, Vimeo, Cash App. That's it.
Okay.
Some people do checks. I'm like, I don't have time for that. Who has time for that? They're arriving. They're coming in. You know. They need a place yesterday. And believe me, they need a place yesterday. There's some nurses. And let me just tell you, even the hotels are giving places for free, they don't want to stay there.
And then we had another question come in is, how do we prevent a nurse that is staying for 30 days or more from becoming a squatter?
Because they don't want to stay in your house. They want to leave. You got to remember the travel nurses, first of all, they have another house. They have another residence. For the most part, they might be married. They might have kids. So they have a contract for 30, 60 days. And you're going to have a contract with them. This is not just a handshake. You're going to have a with them and everything else, and a legal contract with the person and like that. But they're traveling from place to place. They're not staying here. The squatter more is going to be that long-term tenant that a lot of hosts are like going towards. And I'm like, really? Oh, not right now. Not when so many people are unemployed.
Got it. And someone asked another question about the websites. You mentioned one was Furnish Finder, and then you said there was a couple others.
There's Facebook. Facebook groups. There's a lot of Facebook groups that people go to. Yeah. So Furnish Finder has a Facebook group as well. You do not need to pay the $99 on Facebook. So Furnish Finders, you have to pay $99. That's it for you to list there. But if you don't want to, you could just go into the Furnish Finders Facebook group.
Okay.
And I mentioned the Facebook groups in my podcast. It's called, one of them is Gypsy Travel.
Okay.
But guys, I'm going to teach exactly, because you have to, like, there's a protocol. You have to, like, post specifically, and they want you to, but this, and also there's a way to search. This way.
Got it. Okay. A couple more questions came in. I'm hosting a nurse that arrived 2 days ago, and today she says her I guess contract is not working out, and she's going to leave next week. Would you refund her in this scenario?
Whoa. Okay, so the question is this. First of all, how long is the contract? So the question is her contract got canceled, or is she leaving because she wants to leave? Which is two different questions, right? Two different scenarios. A lot of nurses, which is how something that is happening. And I'm doing research on that. One of the things that happened was they're getting canceled on their contracts, or they're changing their hospitals, right? Like this happened to me. I had a signed contract with someone who was arriving, and like a day later, she was like, they changed my hospital. It's going to be an hour away. So can I, and she had already given me money. And I was like, oh, okay. Look, I'm not going to be a prick about this. We're like on such a horrible situation, right? So I was like, okay, let me just work this out. Let me give you money back and everything else. But there has to be this agreement of like, you cutting my contract short, there has to be a penalty for it. I got to get some money back, because you're going to have to now close down your space for the 3 days and that cleaning extra. So at least an extra week, you got to get paid for it. And
Right.
for the time for you to find a nurse, so tell her, yeah, you could probably cut it short. And if you're in New York, you could find a nurse, but you need that time for you to recuperate it. Yeah.
We got another question saying, how do you rent larger and higher priced apartments, 2 to 3 bedrooms? Inquiring nurses are saying my rates are over their budget, even though the rate
Yes,
is
they are.
30% below what I pay in rent.
I get it. But so you split the rooms.
Like rent by the room, you mean?
Rent it out by rooms. You're not gonna make the money. If you gotta like dig, man, guys, you gotta dig. This is like, I will show you how to search. Not everybody's gonna pay $4,000. And not only that, when you see in the Facebook group, if you promote it like that, they get offended, because they see it as here to help out. How dare you charge so much money? They don't see that New York is so expensive, and they don't see that the rent here is so expensive, right? So then what you try to do is then get 3 different nurses, and then just split the apartment, and then they're going to share the common spaces. Not everybody wants to do that. Not all the nurses are going to do that. And when you post, some nurses are like, oh, I will never like share spaces, especially now with COVID-19, but some people will. So let's say if you have a $4,000 space, you could rent it out for $1,200 a month per room, or $1,500 per month per room. And they will go for it. They will do it. Because I ended up having to do that in one of my spaces. I actually had to like split the bedrooms into, even though they knew each other, because then the whole thing is like the nurses are wanting to be like, if they cancel my contract, believe me, this is strategies to all of these guys. Strategies.
And then there's a question that just came in, Evelyn, about how to maximize revenue, and what should we do? What should our approach be once this all blows over? I guess what that is kind of hinting towards is like, maybe how long is it going to take to get back to normal, and any ways that we can maximize people, as that travel slowly starts to pick up. I think that's what the question's asking.
I think the beauty of this is that if you have a nurse, you're going to have a shorter long-term tenant than if you had a long-term tenant, right? You're going to have them probably until June. Some of them until July. Some of them want longer. So it's up to you. When is this going to all be over? Oh my God, I so wish I knew. We have no idea. I mean, Mike, do you know?
I don't think it's very clear how long it's going to last, but
do you have a prediction?
I think travel will be down. If you look at a lot of the major consulting companies who are writing reports on this, they say that travel is going to be slow until the 4th quarter of this year. Not as slow as now, but it's not going to return to normal until Q4.
Exactly. And what is normal? What I don't know what the new normal is going to be either, right? We don't know. Look, if you think we're going back to what was, we're not. I don't know how old you guys are. You have to think about who we were when 9/11 happened. We never went back to before 9/11. Who we were when the recession happened. We never went back to 2007. 2008 happened and everything changed all around the world. This is another one of those moments in our lifetimes. And then who are we going to become is the question. How we survive it, how we strive it. What do you have to do to ride it? And you got to make decisions based on what do you want to be on the other side. Can you ride this out for a year? Can you ride this out for 6 months? Because you guys have to remember, if we normally make a lot of money now during the summer, from now until October, right? September, October is when we really make the money. And then a lot of it in December during the Christmas. But if we're not making that money now, and then it comes a slow season in the winter again, what will happen? And what's going to happen? I have no idea. No clue. Are people going to be afraid of traveling? Are people going to be traveling more with cars? Which is something that I'm thinking that's going to happen instead of flying. But are things going to be so cheap that people are going to travel? And then are you going to have more young people traveling than the older crowd? You know, because they don't care. They don't care if they get sick.
Yeah. We had another question just come in saying, how do you verify if someone is a traveling nurse? And then kind of the other, okay, we'll take that as the first part, then I'll read the second part. How do you validate they're actually a traveling nurse, not a local?
Oh, well, you could ask for their contract if you want, but if you want to ask for their contract, I did not. I mean, I didn't think they would be lying to me because we're on travel nurses site. We're talking about travel nurses. I didn't think they would be lying. I'm sorry.
Okay.
Yeah, I trust.
There's a question here that says someone's afraid to rent to locals even for shorter term, like 15 days, because they're not sure what to do if they don't leave, and they're not sure how Airbnb would help in that scenario. How would you handle that scenario if you had someone stay for 15 days, so a shorter term guest, maybe not a traveling nurse, and then decided that they weren't going to leave?
Okay, guys, I don't leave like that. Mike, you tell me what you would do, because I don't live with this fear of squatters.
Yeah. I mean, if someone's staying under 30 days, they're not a tenant, right? So you can
exactly.
And then I don't really see the problem. If you're worried about, because you're renting out your place and it's a building violation, the police department who handles trespassing is a different department than the buildings department who issues violations. So I would just tell them I would call the police on them.
Yeah.
I've never heard of it happening to someone who stays for a shorter length of time. Yes, if someone stays for longer, I've definitely heard that. But the professional tenants,
and also, where is that fear coming for squatters? Where is that coming from? This is my question.
Yeah, I saw a message come in that was helpful to the previous question. Someone said to verify, they actually asked for a copy of their contract and they verify their nursing license. So that's
exactly. And you could do that. And also there is within Furnish Finders, there is a site where you could even do a background check.
Okay.
On the person. Yeah. You could do both, all of that. You could ask for ID, you could ask for contracts, you could ask for everything. Yeah.
And then there was a question that came in, not related to traveling nurses, but it says, do you have any insight into when Airbnb is going to pay out the 25% of the cancellation refund?
I just did a podcast episode about that, and no, I do not. As much as I have it in with them, And I actually sent them an email because I was sort of like, I wish I got an email from one of my subscribers who was not from the United States. They're from Thailand, and they don't get any help from the government. And they were like, okay, we have $100 US dollars from Airbnb, travel money, which is like fake money also now. And they're like, can we exchange it for cash? And I sent an email to the founders. I was sort of like, guys, can they change that for money? For like, even if it's cents on the dollar, something is better than nothing. Because yeah, I don't know. They just got another $1 billion yesterday. Billion number 2 in 2 weeks. So maybe now.
And
I don't count on it.
another question, you mentioned the Facebook groups and Furnished Finders. Are there any other websites, or really is it just Facebook besides Furnished Finders?
They work a lot with Facebook groups, and then you could do their the companies. Yeah, but it's basically, look, I paid the $99 I got in Furnished Finders, and they contacted me.
Okay, so that sounds like a very good option to do Furnished Finders.
Yeah.
That's where you found the 2 that are coming for you?
Yeah, I think so. And also on Facebook. Look, it's a job. This is not like Airbnb that you just post your listing and people come. No, it's a job. You got to like go in, you got to like go through the post, you got to like be diligent. You want somebody to come into your house and stay in your house and give you some money, you got to work it. This is not passive anymore.
Yeah. Yeah, someone else just chimed in. The other person who rents to traveling nurses said they're also use Furnished Finders and all the Facebook groups, and they reiterated that it is a lot of work, but it's worth it. Does anyone else have any questions? If you'd like to get your question answered, you can put it in the chat, and we're happy to answer it there. Let's see if I missed any here. Okay.
Yeah, and in the course, I'm going to give out like everything that I'm using, everything. And I have a friend who has been doing nurses for 10 years. And it was invaluable to be talking to her through this entire process. Because I had like so many, which is why I was like, let me do this little course for people. Because you're like, oh, but wait, what about this? And she would say, no, you shouldn't do this. No, you shouldn't that. Like that question with the contracts. Because right now, she was like, oh my God, this never happened to me in 10 years. But now because of COVID, all of the, all of the nurses are like, oh, my contract gets canceled and my contract gets shorter. What should I do? So you have to know, what do you want to do beforehand and have a conversation with them. What is fair to everybody?
Mm-hmm. And is there, someone just posted, is there any other group to market to except for traveling nurses that comes to mind?
Well, right now, look, guys, we're in New York. If you're in New York, you're like in the hot zone. I don't think people are coming. If you were like somewhere far away, like in the country, people are traveling there. But also in those places, a lot of counties have turned off short-term rentals. They have said, we don't want them. You cannot take anyone but a nurse or a healthcare provider. So even in those places that they are getting bookings, they cannot book. So it's becoming this whole thing because they don't want people traveling in and bringing in. So in New York, who is traveling? Everybody's working from home, so there's no business travel. Everything is closed, so there's no tourism. People are not visiting family members. Who else?
The only other people that I could think of, if there's some international students that are stranded, because like NYU, for example, closed the dorms.
Exactly. But then like all of those people, they already got housing. Like that
Right.
happened March 15, like when everybody got stranded, right? Like that's when that kind of happened. For me, I got the roommates. Like it was sort of like what I was getting was like my roommate. I mean, there's also this whole thing that people are saying like, oh, I'm renting to if people want to like get out of their houses and then want to work someplace. But then how much is that? Cleaning? I mean, because you basically want to be like, okay, so you're the only person arriving into this house. And are you booking for the whole month? And like all of that. So it's sort of more like a workspace for the person than anything else. Because they don't want to work at home.
Right. And we just got another one saying, if my lease ends mid-August, would you suggest that we not renew given the circumstance? It seems like a risk to ride the wave past August.
Mike and I were talking about it. Go ahead, Mike.
Yeah, I can answer this one. I had a few properties in Jersey City, and what I actually did to make this decision, I decided to shut them down, but there was not just because of coronavirus. There was two reasons. The first is that I wasn't allowed to continue after this year to legally operate it in Jersey City. So I had a limit to how much I could recover, right? Because I could only run it to December. And then what I did is I took my profit and loss statement from QuickBooks for last year and I ran 3 scenarios. And I said, okay, if April is at 50%, 0% of what I did last year, is May at 20%, and I ran a couple different scenarios, and ultimately I decided it wasn't worth it to hang on to those properties. But now if I was in the scenario where I could have continued to run those properties next year, maybe I would have made a different decision. But because I was limited to only the revenue for this year, I didn't feel that it was worth the risk in that case. So it's individual. It depends how much you make off your units, but I would say look at your profit and loss statement every month from last year and be very conservative and say, by July, I think I'll be back to 50% occupancy. Where does that put me? Am I losing money or am I making money? And if you're making money,
I would say by July, 20%.
Yeah. I'm just throwing out an example of numbers.
Yeah.
So, and you just take that revenue from last year and look at it and see if it makes sense for you.
Yeah. I mean, how much do you need to survive for it? Will your rent go up? Can your rent go down? Also, are you legal in New York? Because they're still coming after people. Because I spoke to I spoke to Brandon.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah, he did my contract. And yeah, he did my nurse's contract, which is what I'm going to be sharing in the course. And he's a lawyer and he's done a lot of your stuff. And he was telling me they're still coming after homes.
Yeah.
Even through this.
And someone else just mentioned a question about clearing your calendar. They said for reservations already made for short stays in June so that you can have a long-term rental to a traveling nurse.
That's
how
what
do you
I did.
avoid Airbnb's penalties if you cancel? What's the best way to do that?
So what I did was I asked the guest to cancel on my behalf.
Mm-hmm.
And also, if you're a super host, you're entitled to certain cancellations. I also contacted Airbnb because they actually did charge me for one of them, and I contacted them and they reversed it because the reason why you're canceling, right? You're opening to nurses, so it's not like you're canceling because you want to have another a better reservation, and also and what you might want to do is just ask the guest. Are you thinking of coming? You want to give them an out. And what you have to remember, Airbnb's message is saying you need to see if they're going to recommit. And that's what you're doing. Recommit. And because they might not come. Look, oh man, there was a reservation for $5,000. And I had to say, I gotta let you go. That one hurt. I was like, okay, I'm sending an email and I just have to let it go and just put it out there. You know what I mean? And you just gotta like be like, it's money. Money will come. What is it that I need right now? I need a reservation that is a good reservation. All those other reservations, they're not true. They're not true. They're sort of like, you know, that boyfriend that doesn't really call, that only calls on whenever, that he's not a boyfriend. Those are those reservations. They're not really true. They're not coming. Are they coming? We don't even know. They might not be able to even fly in. They might want an out. I'm telling you, man. They're that boyfriend. You know what I'm talking about. Michael, you that boyfriend?
So I'm not going to answer that. We have time for one more question.
Because you were that boyfriend.
So we have one more question here saying, have you had any luck with listing on Corporate Housing by Owner, which is a different listing website?
I did not go there. I went straight into this. I just went, okay. So I'm going to tell you guys what happened. I had a guest who stayed in my house from New York and actually got sick in my house. And was taken from my house in an ambulance. And the day he arrived, I mean, they were there already for a week. He was from New York. He's a New Yorker. And they were just there for a week and they extended it for another week. And he was there with his girlfriend. And I had another guest arriving into the top floor for 2 weeks as well. They were like, again, New Yorkers wanting to not be with people. And that day, he extended the stay. My house is clean, all is done. And I have a Ring video doorbell, and my doorbell gets, I get a notification, and I see masks, and it's EMT, and they're saying, we got a call from somebody here that called an ambulance. And I was like, well, what's going on? And it was my guest. And my guest was taken from my house in an ambulance in a gurney. And he was there in a hospital and he was taken out. My other guest, who had just arrived an hour before, left, canceled his reservation. I had to refund him all his money, of course, because it was like, of course, you have to. And I had in my entire place one person, the girlfriend, who contacted me that night, who told me he is sick. We don't know because they're texting him, but they're keeping him in the hospital. He never came back to the house. He's better, but she stayed for 8 days in my place by herself. But she was there by herself in 2 apartments, basically, because I couldn't rent the other place for anybody else. And I made a choice that I was like, I need to turn my place over to nurses because I know how to host. I know how to do this right. I'm just covering my mortgage. I'm covering my mortgage and the bills. That's it. I'm not making money. This is not for me to like, oh my God, I'm making bank. No, this is not it. I am so grateful that they're coming to New York because they're risking their lives. We know how many people have died. We know how many people are still ill. But it was so in my house. It was in my house. It was there. So look, my neighbors were contacting me, telling me there was an ambulance in front of your house. And my neighbor was like, oh, my wife has it. So it's not like, you know, it's everywhere. So for me, opening my home for nurses, it's really special. For me, opening my home and making sure that they have a good place. Because we know how to host. We know how to do this right. So this is beyond me having money to cover my mortgage. This is for me to also, for them to have a place for them to call home, to come to.
Awesome. Well, thank you, Evelyn. I appreciate you taking the time to share all of this.
So it's a little personal, I know. And now believe me, every time I talk to nurses, I cry. I'm like, oh my God. I'm talking to the nurses and I'm like, I'm so thankful that you're coming to my place. They're like, what? Are you going to give me a bigger discount? Mike, thank you for doing this.
Yeah, thank you for taking the time. And everyone, again, if you do have any ideas for future meetups, I'll leave this page open for another 2 minutes or so. You can just plug them in the chat and we'll try to book.
Maybe you want to do one for cleaning.
Maybe.
Cleaning, yeah. Because you got to clean your place very specific. I actually spoke to a biohazard company.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, maybe I'll look into doing one for that. Yeah.
Yeah, because you gotta. So if you have anybody in your house, guys, if you have anybody in your house, you have to think that they have COVID. Period. Whether they have it or they do not, you gotta close down your place for 3 days, and then you gotta bring in your cleaners.
Right.
Yeah.
Awesome.
That's it. Sorry. Thank you, guys. Thank you so much, my dear.
All right, everyone, take care. And I just saw a message come in about another one for taxes. We just did one on taxes about 2 months ago for tax season. If you want to just reach out to me, you can reply to the email that we did that I sent for this meetup, and I will share you on the presentation for that one. And I'll also share you. I think we took a video that night, so I can share that with you. We probably won't be able to do another tax one until early next year because my person who does the tax one's pretty busy filing taxes for people right now. But we will do another one in the future. I just don't think we'll be able to get to it for the online meetup.
Oh, Dish is asking, yeah.
No problem. Okay, guys. All right. Thank you, everyone, for coming. You can continue to put your ideas in here, and we'll try to put in for future meetups. I'll review them all after this event. And thank you, Evelyn. Have a great day.